Martha?
Well, I'm here in Acquisitions, Trace, and there is a heated battle that is brewing right now on Capitol Hill and in small businesses all across this country. Democrats and unions are pushing hard for something that everyone needs to be aware of. It is called the Employee Free Choice Act. You've also heard it referred to as card check. It calls for three major changes, roughly. There's a couple more, but three big ones about how the unions operate. Republicans have major concerns with this bill, which would end a worker's right to a secret ballot. If the union comes in and they want to unionize your company, you no longer would have the right to vote secretly on whether or not you wanted it. It would also impose higher penalties on employers who violate labor laws. It would also require arbitration, and that the government would get involved if companies and their employers were having a strike and they were unable to reach an agreement. The government would be able to step in and make some, statements, get involved in how much those employees are going to be paid and how that deal would be settled. Let's bring in our panel today. Representative Issa is a House Oversight and Government Reform Committee ranking member, and Representative Robert Andrews from the great state of my home state of New Jersey is the chairman of the House Subcommittee on Health, Employment, and Labor and Pensions. Welcome, gentlemen. Good to have you here. Representative Andrews, let me start with you, if I may. Why do you support this bill? A lot of people are very concerned it would take away a worker's right to vote privately on whether or not they want to have a union shop.
The bill doesn't take away a worker's right to vote privately. What it does is to retain the two methods to get a union. The one is that you have a secret ballot election, still in the law. The other way is if a majority of the workers sign a card saying they want a union, the present law says the employer can reject that. What the change in the law does is give the employees the right to make that decision rather than the employer. It does not end secret ballot.
All right, so what's the problem, Representative Issa?
Well, first of all, it does. That card check system would be, in fact, an open ballot system, one in which there would be great amount of pressure to sign on, and anyone who hadn't signed on would be known by the union. So what you're really doing is tabulating to get an outcome, and you're doing it in public and then claiming that you could still have a secret ballot. The truth is this is part of a pro-union unionization effort that will change the balance that historically has made us the greatest democracy and the greatest capitalistic state in America. We have plenty of unions. We get unions when workers want it. This would simply cause you to have unions virtually everywhere. You know, in France, there's a union of college students. Well, in this case, that may be a goal, but it's not one that we would want to have.
Well, let me ask Representative Andrews about this. Why are you not concerned that this might be open to intimidation? And why do you think it's so important that, why would you side with the union over the workers in this case in terms of their own ability to choose? And what about the business owner who feels that they're being left out of the loop by this?
Well, what this does is the balance that my friend talked about gets restored. Right now the law is that if a majority of workers sign the card to get rid of a union, the union's gone. Just like that, there's no secret ballot or anything else for that. So what we're saying here is if a union can be decertified by a majority signing a card, then a union should be able to be certified by the same thing also. The bill says that if there's any allegations of fraud or intimidation or coercion, the National Labor Relations Board will determine whether that coercion existed. And if they find that the coercion existed, then there's no union. I think it's a very fair process.
Well, let's talk about that, Representative Issa, because this also is another, what many small businesses at a time when, a lot of them are strapped and a lot of them wish they could hire more employees, but they can't because of a lot of other things that are going on. This is going to make it very tough for small businesses to function, especially if they end up with unions pushing their salaries higher. They might have to lay people off.
Well, it's not only salaries, it's work rules, it's all the things that have made General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler the companies they are today, which is bankrupt when competing against foreign competitors, even when making in America. But I think when you listen to Warren Buffett, an Obama supporter, unabashed supporter of the Democrats here in the House and the Senate, but he still says card check would be bad. It's a bad policy. He thinks it's a bad balance. This is a man that owns a lot of companies that are unionized. He doesn't object to unions. He supports that. But he realizes that the balance that has been in place and the secret ballot that's been in place needs to be retained.
And George,
I have great respect for Mr. Buffett, but just last week he said he made a lot of mistakes last year. I think his opposition to this is a mistake.
Right.
He still beat the market in a down market.
George McGovern is also against card check, and as are a lot of union members from what we're hearing. We'll see how this pans out. Representative Andrews and Representative Issa
Nice being with you. Thank you.
standing next to each other right there. Not going to duke it out in the halls of
No, not at
Congress.
all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good to have you here. Trace, back to you.
We got a bunch of breaking news.